We've got trade news in the NBA. Dorian Finney-Smith potentially headed from the Brooklyn Nets to the Memphis Grizzlies. I've got the latest plus what the deal could look like and what it means for the market as a whole. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Turn on those notifications as well. Right now, only about 20% of you that are watching this video right now are actually subscribed. So if you are not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It's free, and I don't think you'll regret it. All right. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Mark Stein, fantastic Substack that he has, said, league sources say there are active discussions between the two teams, the Brooklyn Nets and the Memphis Grizzlies, on a trade scenario that was mentioned in a story he posted to his Substack. It would involve John Concar and Luke Kennard going to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for Dorian Finney-Smith. The Nets are known to be seeking a first-round draft pick from the Grizzlies in any potential deal for Dorian Finney-Smith, and it's expected the Grizzlies would get a second-round draft compensation if the trade were to come to fruition. So the Grizzlies will be getting an excellent 3-and-D style wing defender in Dorian Finney-Smith, and they'd be giving up a first-round pick to do it. Now, the Nets ultimately came off of their demand for a first-round pick when they traded Dennis Schroeder to the Golden State Warriors, instead taking multiple second-round picks. And so this could be why this deal would get done sooner rather than later. If the Nets decide to wait until the trade deadline, it's possible that the best they're going to find is second-round picks. But if the Grizzlies are willing to give up a first now rather than wait and hope that they can get Dorian Finney-Smith for seconds later, that's how this deal gets done now and not at the February 6th trade deadline. If the Grizzlies say, you know what, we will sacrifice a first-round pick in order to get one of the better wing defenders out there on the market. And if you look right now, there's a number of teams that are looking for help on the wing. And so I understand why the Grizzlies would think, you know what, I don't know if the asking price is going to really drop that much. Maybe we just get this done now. We add some help, some defensive help on the perimeter, a guy who could shoot the three as well, and we put him on our roster immediately, even if it takes essentially turning a first-round pick into a second-round pick, which is what this swap would be. I'll take a look at the exact trade as well as what this would mean for the market in just a moment. But first, let's give a quick shout-out to our sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks, so much fun to play. Always recommend daily fantasy sports. It is a good time, can increase your engagement in the game. And when you use our code Bulletin, they've got a fantastic deal right now. Prize Picks does. You get a guaranteed $50 once you play $5 in lineups. The link for Prize Picks is in the description down below. You guys can find that. Let's make a few picks for tonight's game, Saturday night. Let's make a few picks here. I'm looking at Sabonis, 14 field goals attempted. He's taken on the Los Angeles Lakers. The Kings just got rid of their head coach in Mike Brown. I would have to think he hits that, but you know what? I feel a little bit better with the 39 points, rebounds, and assists for Sabonis. I know he's been dealing with an illness, but he should be good to go for tonight's game. So I'm going to say he gets more than that, especially with Anthony Davis's status up in the air right now. If AD is not a go, Sabonis is going to absolutely feast in that one. Again, AD status up in the air right now due to that ankle turn. He did say he was going to play, but I'm going to stay away from him in this one. I do look at LeBron James, 26.5 points. Can he get there? I certainly think he can, especially in a scenario in which AD is not a go or is not 100%. 26.5 points. I'm going to go there with that one. So LeBron James, Sabonis, those are two picks that I like for this one. Again, use that code Bulletin. Get that $50 when you play $5. Use the code Bulletin. That way they know that you came from us, and use the link in the description down below. All right, let's get into what this deal would actually look like between the Memphis Grizzlies and the New Jersey, or I should say the Brooklyn Nets. Well, went back a few years there. The Brooklyn Nets here. So they'd be stacking up a couple of salaries. John Conchar, he's at 6.1 million, and then you've got Luke Kennard at 9.2. Are the Nets really interested in either one of those guys? I mean, look, maybe you could flip one of them. Conchar is not bad what he provides as a solid rotation player, and the salary, just $6 million, 4% of the cap. Okay, no big deal there. Luke Kennard is an expiring contract. Now, when we go take a look at Dorian Finney-Smith, what would the Grizzlies be getting here? Dorian Finney-Smith, $14.9 million, so just about $15 million under contract, but has a player option next year for $15.4 million. So there's a little bit of uncertainty there. Dorian Finney-Smith could become a free agent this summer. I don't think he will get $15 million. Depends. Maybe he makes a deep playoff run with the Grizz and he has a good playoff series or something like that. Maybe that would get him over that number, but I think that's probably about right in terms of value for him. Maybe he's more of a mid-level exception type guy. So I don't know. I think it's really a toss-up whether or not he's going to pick up that option. The Grizzlies, though, could certainly welcome him into a team where the vibe really fits Dorian Finney-Smith in terms of being a defense-first player. I think he'd be a great addition to their wing situation there in Memphis. You already have John Morant. You have Des Bane. You've got Jaren Jackson Jr. You've got guys that can put the ball in the basket. You just need somebody who can be a threat from behind the arc and can defend multiple positions and ideally be a bit of a switchable defensive player. And right now they have Marcus Smart sometimes playing at the quote unquote 3 for them. Dorian Finney-Smith is a pretty good fit in that regard, as well as somebody who can slide into that 3-4 spot. More of a 4 now than a 3, but still can fit into that slot for the Grizzlies. So let's put the trade together here. We'll go through the trade machine again. Always recommend using Spot Track if you're going to come up with trade deadline deals in the NBA because they've got all of the new CBA rules incorporated. Super important because there's other trade machines out there that will approve trades that are actually not legal under the new CBA. So I always recommend that you go use Spot Track when you're making these deals. So let's send Dorian Finney-Smith to the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's go ahead and send, we're going to send Conchar and we're going to send Luke Kennard to the Nets. And there we go. That's a done deal. That is good to go. That will work under the new collective bargaining agreement. Now, not only are the Grizzlies getting Dorian Finney-Smith, but you are clearing some long-term money off the books, but it's minor in Conchar. So I think it's a good move for the Grizz. I like it for the Grizz. I think there's going to be enough teams that are interested in Dorian Finney-Smith that if you look, giving up a first for Dorian Finney-Smith is not ideal. I know most teams would prefer to give up seconds. But if you're getting a second back, really, if you're the Grizzlies, you're just turning a first-round pick into a second-round pick, which you don't want to do. But you look at what the Grizzlies have done this year, and I'll tell you what, they've been really impressive because they have, just like last year, suffered a number of injuries. They've suffered a lot of injuries this season. They lost John Morant for certain stretches. They've lost Desmond Bane for a while. But look at them, 22-10, the 2 seed right now in the Western Conference, the second best point differential in the conference, which oftentimes can differentiate the really good teams from the just okay teams. If we're going based on point differential, maybe there's even a tier break between Memphis and the Houston Rockets. I don't think the Grizz are quite there with the Oklahoma City Thunder, but this makes them closer if they can get Dorian Finney-Smith. And if you're a Memphis team that just endured the season from hell last year, where your whole team was injured, and you had an injury list a mile long by the end of the season, this feels real good for Memphis because you knew this team was good. You knew they were better than they were last season when they completely bottomed out. They just got crushed by injuries, and now we're seeing what this team can really be, and Dorian Finney-Smith would be a great piece. And not only would they be getting him, would he be added to the Grizzlies, but you'd be keeping him away from several other teams in the West that could be pursuing him. Teams like the Lakers, teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, others that could be trying to get him. So it's not just about the Memphis Grizzlies getting the player. It's about keeping him away from other teams as well and making them have to look elsewhere on the wing. For the Nets, this is all about bottoming out. That's what you want to do here. Luke Kennard, maybe at some point they would look to flip Conchar in the future, but or you could send out Luke Kennard in an individual deal as teams are looking for three-point shooting. But the Brooklyn Nets, it's all about capture the flag right now. And you have to wonder, for the market as a whole, do we see more creativity like this, where it's a first-rounder going one way and a second going the other way? Right now, a lot of teams, they simply don't want to give up first. Under the new CBA, they're just too valuable to give up first-round picks. So is this a way to ease the concerns of the buyers by saying, hey, you know what? As a seller on the market, we'll give you the player that you want. We want to get a first back, but we're willing to kick you a second-round pick or maybe a couple of second-round picks, something like that, in order to make it a little bit easier for you to relinquish that first-round draft capital that we're looking for. So that's an interesting wrinkle in this and something we may see play out on the market from here. Remember, it took multiple seconds to get Dennis Schroeder to the Golden State Warriors. And then, of course, the big question becomes for the Brooklyn Nets, what about the rest of their roster? This is going to be, I think, the most aggressive team selling on the market this year. They're going to be looking to move off from players. They're going to be looking to tank. They're going to want to capture the flag, get into this great draft class, and they've got a number of other players, not just Dorian Finney-Smith. I think Cam Johnson is in extremely high demand around the trade market. $22.5 million this season, $20.5 the next season, back up to $22.5 after that. You look at a guy, Bojan Bogdanovic. Well, I don't know what his demand is going to look like right now, but Nick Claxton, certainly they'll be interested in him, even at his salary number, especially because he's only 25 years old. If they decide they want to move on from him, they certainly can. Cam Thomas as well, another name to keep an eye on. The incredibly talented young 23-year-old scoring guard. Still questions about whether or not he's best as a sixth man or as a starter, but this dude can light it up, averaging about 25 points per game. So if they decide the Nets don't want to be the team to pay him on his next contract, another team could swoop in and grab him. Another guy to keep an eye on that I like a lot, Day'Ron Sharpe. Really solid backup big, an absolute beast on the boards. $4 million under contract this season, restricted free agent after that. So there are still pieces that teams could explore with the Brooklyn Nets. I think this is a team that is going to be the biggest seller on the market. And it looks like the Memphis Grizzlies are in the driver's seat to bring Dorian Finney-Smith, one of the better wing defenders out there on the market, bring him to Memphis and see if they can capitalize on what is a wide open Western Conference and a really, really good Memphis Grizzlies team. Everybody, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And don't forget to go check out the live video that Donnie Freeman and I did earlier today, just a few hours ago. Check out the live section. We broke down all the latest going on around the trade market. So go check that out right now. And of course, don't forget to subscribe.